family and be in my own place. However, here I am in London in the freezing cold. So we're going to have 3 days and we're going to look at a subject that is very prickly, the art of empire. Now, I wonder if you've ever thought about how do you identify a true Brit? How do you know somebody's really English? Well, I can tell you, it's because they say sorry, and they say sorry all the time. You know, sorry for winning the war, sorry for the weather, sorry for being born, sorry for dying. In fact, the last words of George Orwell in the ambulance were, sorry to be such a bother. This tendency to apologize. If somebody steps back on your foot in the underground, you say sorry. And when they step back on your foot again, you say sorry again. And the third time you just kill them. So that is the British character. And we've never had a better chance of saying sorry than for the empire. England is now made to apologize for everything that happened in the 19th century. Well, I say no, we're going to push back. And over the next 3 days, we're going to look at what the empire really did. And the biggest part of it is that a lot of it was due to the fact that the visual arts carried the message. And they carried a message which did not require you to know English. So the people all over the empire could understand these very direct images, which were about ordinary people experiencing ordinary things, which they could understand. And those images took what we call British values right around the empire. So that is basically what we're going to look at. So when you look at this work here, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and you see this man, he's determined, maybe angry, maybe even resentful, maybe angry that he's being forced to leave his country that he'll never see again. And you see his wife tearing up a little bit. She's got the baby tucked under her cloak. You can see the little hand of the baby here. She's thinking, I'll never see my mum again. She's got no idea, and neither has he, what they're going to go through over the next 4 months at sea. And this painting is a painting which many people could relate to very directly. So there's only one actual painting, which is here by Ford Madox Brown. But the point was that the painting could be copied as an engraving, as you see here on the other side. And that engraving on a copper plate could be printed for about 200 copies. But when they worked out how to by electrolysis, how to steel face the copper plate, it was hard, and they could then print up to 2,000 copies. So anywhere in the empire, you might find this print. And people would recognize the symptoms. They'd recognize what it was about. Parents would say, I wonder where my daughter is now. I wonder if they're okay. We might get a letter in 4 months' time. So the power of these images, replicated as engravings, were the things that took the British experience right around the world. So that's one of the main features we're going to talk about. And most of these images had a sort of double entendre. So you're looking at a very magnificent painting called The Monarch of the Glen, a very famous Victorian artwork by Edwin Landseer. And it's just a great stag standing up there, up in the Highlands, looking out over a misty Scottish glen. But it isn't. It is also projecting ideas. It's projecting ideas of nobility, of power, of dominance, authority, and confidence. And that is the subliminal message coming through from this. So let's just think about, in this first talk, a young queen takes the throne. And we're going to look at Queen Victoria very closely, really, through these talks, because it was her personal character and her personal belief that really powered the whole thing along. And here she is looking very, very young. It's a beautiful painting by Winterhalter, and she's wearing the orange blossom that she wore on her wedding day and her wedding veil, a brooch given to her by Alfred, by Prince Albert, I mean. and she's very, very young and beautiful. So she's born in Kensington Palace in 1819, just to give you a starting point. Now we have an extract from her diary. Victoria kept a diary all her life, from about the age of 13. And this is what she wrote in her diary on that very fateful night. I was awoke at 6 o'clock by Mamma, who told me the Archbishop of Canterbury and Lord Cunningham were here and wished to see me. I got out of bed and I went into my sitting room, only in my dressing gown, and alone, and saw them. Lord Cunningham then acquainted me that my poor uncle the king was no more, and had expired at 12 minutes past 2 this morning, and consequently that I am Queen. There is an engraving that shows this very moment with Marquis Cunningham kneeling before Victoria and saying, the king is dead, long live the Queen. So this was a very, very tremendous moment for her. And the story is that she turned to her maid and her first words were, get my mother out of my room. Because her mother had always thought she would be regent. Her mother was the Duchess of Kent, who with her helpers, if you like, had always planned that she would be regent if Victoria ever became queen. And Victoria had always stayed in her mother's room. Her first words, get my mother out. I am going to be queen. I'm going to do it. So here she is in her coronation robes in 1837. It's quite beautifully composed. She looks very confident. And I like the way she's posed with her eyes looking up at the cross on the top of the scepter. Well, it was a great, great event for a child of only 18 to go through something like this with poise and control was astonishing. Here she is. Imagine even carrying the weight of this heavy gold robe that she had to wear at her coronation. All the ladies in waiting. And you see up in the abbey, right up to the gunnels, packed with people. And here she is seated on the throne with the crown and scepter. Well, the whole event was a tremendous thing for London. The heads of state and the kings and queens of Europe came from all over the world. You've got the Pasha from Turkey here, the Sweden, Portugal, France, everywhere, the lifeguards, and every single balcony and window stuffed with people. So she went through that, the coronation, went back to the palace, took off her robes, and what did she do? She bathed her dog. I mean, this is such a wonderful story about Victoria. When Lord Melbourne came and said, Your Majesty, you've really got to have a rest. There's the ball tonight. You know, you've got the crowned heads of Europe. She said, what did she say? My citizen, my subject needs me and he needs a bath. So she bathed her dog Dash. And just to show you here, she's wearing the crown of state, and you can see it's exactly the same crown that Elizabeth wore for her coronation in 1953. So the thing was, she had to be married, and a certain amount of thought had gone into this already, I think. But it was really a love match when she met Albert. And Albert Saxe-Coburg-Gotha was her first cousin because her mother was also a Coburg. So she marries lovely Albert. They're terribly young. They're probably 21 years old. And there he is. You can see his crest here, which includes the royal crest of England, Honi soit qui mal y pense, which means evil to him who thinks evil. So they fall in love and they get married very, very young, and they have 9 children. This is her very wedding dress, which still survives. It's quite simple, really. And there she is, married. There you can see the portrait I've just shown you in the background. So they said they begin a very happy married life. They're always surrounded with lots and lots of animals and children and babies. This is a very lovely kind of family scene. This is Eos. This was Prince Albert's favorite greyhound. All of these dogs have names. That's the Princess Royal, first baby. And she sets about having a large family of 9 children. She didn't really like being pregnant and having babies. She said it was the shadow side of married life. But she was madly in love with Albert, as you can see right here. In fact, they were so much in love that when they went on their tours around England, all the carpenters were rushed together to build big double beds. Now, that was absolutely unheard of. It was quite unheard of for aristocrats to sleep in the same room, never mind in the same bed. But they always slept together in the same bed. Just to show you again some of their dogs, and this is a better portrait of Dash by Lancia. So it's Dash, Nero, Hector, and the parrot, Laurie. I'm trying to give you some sense of her as a person before we go on to what happens in the broader world. So a portrait like this is then painted. Here we have Victoria with Albert and the baby, I think it's Prince Arthur, receiving a present from the Duke of Wellington, the Iron Duke. But when you look at it again, do you not see the iconography of the adoration of the kings creeping in here? That, you know, the king sort of comes and brings a gift. The very structure of the painting, the fact that she has a coronet which could look like a halo, there are the white flowers symbolizing purity. The Albert becomes a sort of Joseph figure looking away down to the Crystal Palace, which of course was his great achievement. So that painting is then reproduced as an engraving. And it was these paintings, these engravings, that allowed people to see what their queen looked like. And Queen Victoria was the most known monarch the world had ever seen. The world had never, ever seen the monarchs in such great detail. And wherever you went, you would see engravings of Queen Victoria. So she was very, very, very well known. So what was the world that she came into? Let's just look for a moment before we just take it for granted that an 18-year-old girl can come along and change the world. Well, the world she came into was a world of male heroes. For example, Field Marshal, His Grace, the Serene Highness, the Duke of Wellington, who was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom twice. The Duke of Wellington was a battle-hardened warrior. He survived over 60 battles, and he was the greatest, he's still considered the greatest strategist that the world has ever seen. And of course, he won the Battle of Waterloo with an extraordinary battle strategy, and of course with help from the Germans. So the Duke of Wellington was one of the great, great heroes that was right in the forefront of people's imagination. But the other hero, even more glamorous perhaps, more romantic, was Horatio Lord Nelson. And there is Nelson, famous not only for winning the Battle of Trafalgar, but also for his steamy relationship with Amy Lang, aka Emma Hampton.
Lecture has stopped. What's happening, please? What's happening, please? Lecture has stopped.
She's exited momentarily, but she will be rejoining.
She will be rejoining. Is that what you said? You can cut off. Can you tell us what's happening, please? We're sitting here with a blank screen.
Hello? Hi. We are trying to connect Hillary back into the chat currently. There seems to be a technical issue on her side. Yes, on her side.
Well, I can tell you it's probably the end of this lecture. You see that first picture that was up?
Yes.
It told me 1,000 things.
Yes.
Like one picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes.
And there was the wife with the baby.
Yes.
Under her cloak.
Mm. Hello, I wonder if someone could tell us how long this delay might be, or this misconnection. Otherwise, it's a bit silly just sitting here. Could someone let us know, please?
We're still currently trying to connect Hillary back online. It appears that all of her network is not allowing us to connect to her, and that's also preventing her from connecting to you guys. The issue is still being dealt with.
All right. So we hang on then, and in the hope.
Yes, just hang on, just a couple more minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
People online again. And I think. Okay, everybody, we seem to be unable to get hearing back, and I don't think this is important. We don't know. I mean, by the time that she manages to probably to that anyway. But we're going to try and ask her to repeat the second half. I think the lecture stopped. She was sort of halfway through. No? Yeah. So we're going to try and get to repeat half of today's lecture, start tomorrow. We should stop today, and then we'll figure out a way to make up for the lost time. But I think it's better that you just start tomorrow. We should stop today. So that we and tomorrow will be LT1, remember, because of the size of the images.
So will we start earlier?
No, we'll start at the same time. We'll have to speak to her to see how she wants to make up that. Yes. But you can't agree with after the session. No, this is the teething problem.
Is it being recorded?
Yes.
Can't make out a single word you are saying. We can't make out a single word you are saying.
This is a you must handle the online. Okay. Can you just hold on? We'll address the online crowd, people. Let's just sort out.
Can we not watch it all online later? Can you not give us the link for the complete?
You would rather have it online.
Yeah.